The forest was quiet that night. Snow covered the ground like a soft white blanket. The moonlight fell through the tall pine trees, painting silver lines on the frozen earth. Jack Miller, a strong lumberjack with a beard full of frost, was chopping wood behind his small wooden cabin. Each swing of his axe echoed through the still air. Thud, crack, thud. He lived alone miles away from the nearest town. He liked the silence, the smell of pine, and the hard work. But that night something felt different. The wind was too quiet. The trees weren't moving. Even the animals had stopped making sounds. Jack lifted another log ready to swing when he noticed something strange between the trees. Two tiny blue lights, moving slowly in the darkness. He frowned. "That's odd," he muttered. "No fireflies this time of year." The lights came closer. They weren't fireflies. They were too bright and they floated low like small lanterns carried by invisible hands. Jack wiped his eyes and squinted. Then he froze. Out from behind the tree stepped two small figures glowing faintly. They looked like children, but not human. Their skin shimmered like glass. Their heads were larger than normal, their eyes big and full of light. They were no taller than Jack's axe handle. One held the other's hand tightly. Jack dropped the log in shock. What in the world? The two tiny beings stopped a few feet away, trembling. The smaller one spoke first in a soft musical voice, broken and strange. "Please, help us." Jack's mouth went dry. "You talk?" The taller twin nodded fast. "Yes, we speak. We need safe place, please." Jack took a step back, his axe still in hand. He looked around the forest, half expecting someone to jump out with a camera. Is this some kind of joke? The smaller twin shook their head, eyes wide with fear. "No joke, danger, big danger." Then the ground trembled under Jack's boots. A low rumble came from deep in the forest like thunder crawling across the ground. The twins gasped and clung to each other. Jack's heart pounded. "What was that?" The taller twin whispered, "It found us." Before Jack could ask who or what, the trees behind them shook violently. Snow fell from the branches. A red glow appeared between the trunks, not fire, but something mechanical, something alive. Jack's instincts kicked in. "Get inside," he shouted. He pointed to his cabin and ran. The twins followed, their small feet leaving glowing footprints in the snow. Inside, Jack shut the heavy wooden door and dropped the latch. His cabin was warm from the fire, but his skin prickled with fear. The twins hid behind his table, shaking. Jack looked through the window. In the distance, between the trees, two red lights shone like evil eyes scanning the forest. The sound grew louder, a low hum mixed with the crack of breaking wood. He whispered, "What's out there?" The taller twin looked up, their tiny chest rising and falling fast. "Hunter from sky. It wants us." Jack stared at them. "A hunter? You mean like alien?" The small one nodded slowly. "Yes, we run from ship. Crash here. It follows." Jack rubbed his forehead. "This can't be real. I'm just tired. Too much cold." But the sound outside made it clear something big was moving, something heavy. Then came a strange noise, a sharp metallic clang followed by the crunch of snow under metal feet. The red lights were closer now, scanning across the cabin walls. The twins gasped. "It found us." Jack grabbed his axe again. "Over my dead body," he muttered. He looked at the two tiny creatures. They were terrified, huddled together like frightened children. Something in his heart shifted, that deep human instinct to protect. The door rattled once, then again harder. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jack raised his axe. "Stay behind me!" The twins whispered something in their own language, and their bodies began to glow brighter. Soft blue light filled the room. The shaking stopped for a moment. Then silence. Jack held his breath. He could hear only the crackle of the fire and his own heartbeat. After a few seconds, the taller twin looked up. "It go away?" Jack slowly moved to the window and peeked outside. The red lights were gone. The forest was dark again. Only the moonlight touched the snow. He turned back to them. "All right, you two need to explain what's going on. Who are you?" "What was that thing?" The twins looked at each other, then back at him. The smaller one said quietly, "We are from Far Star. We come to find help." "You are human, yes?" Jack nodded, still confused. "Last time I checked." The taller twin took a deep breath. "Then maybe you can save us." Jack blinked. "Save you? From what?" Before they could answer, the ground rumbled again. louder, closer this time. The plates on his shelves rattled. The twins screamed. "Here come again." Outside, a shadow moved between the trees, tall, metallic, with glowing red eyes that cut through the night. Jack's cabin shuddered as the sound grew into a roar. He gripped his axe tighter, his breath turning white in the cold air. The twins clung to his leg, their voices trembling. "Please, human, help us." Jack swallowed hard, staring at the door as the red light slid under it. Whatever was out there wasn't human. It wasn't from this world. He raised his axe high and said through his teeth, "Then let's find out what kind of monster you're running from." The door shuddered again. Something heavy moved outside, slow, careful, hunting. The red light cut through the gaps between the wooden planks like laser eyes. Jack stood still, his axe raised. His breath came out in small white clouds. The two alien twins hid behind the table, glowing softly, their little hands gripping each other. Then came a sound, metal scraping against metal. Deep and cold, the taller twin whispered, trembling. "Hunter knows we are here." Jack's voice was calm but firm. "Then we better move." He looked around his small cabin, one door, one window, no place to hide. He had traps outside, tools, ropes, fuel cans, but against whatever that thing was, he didn't stand a chance. The smaller twin pointed to the back wall. "There, broken part." Jack frowned, then remembered. Behind the old stove was a trapdoor leading to the back shed. He had built it years ago to store tools during winter. "Good thinking," he said. "Come on, quick." The ground shook again. Thud. 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 Each step came closer. Jack pulled the stove aside with one strong push. The floor creaked. Beneath it, a wooden hatch waited. He opened it and looked at the twins. "Down there, move." The twins jumped in, their glowing bodies lighting up the narrow passage. Jack followed, closing the hatch quietly just as the front door exploded inward. Wood splinters flew everywhere. The walls shook as something massive entered the cabin. From the darkness below, Jack could see through the cracks. Two red beams swept across the room. The hunter. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive in the normal sense. It looked like a machine built for war. A tall metal creature, its arms long and sharp like knives. Its head was smooth and round with a single red eye that scanned the room in slow circles. Every step it took made the floor vibrate. The air itself felt heavy. The taller twin whispered, "It finds energy. It smells life." Jack clenched his jaw. "Then let's give it something else to smell." He picked up an old oil lantern from the tunnel shelf. Carefully, he threw it through a side hole into the shed next door. The sound made the creature turn. Its red eye flashed and it stomped toward the noise. Jack pushed the twins ahead through the tunnel. "Go, move fast." They crawled through dirt and wood until they reached the open snow behind the cabin. The cold air hit them hard. The night sky burned with stars, and smoke rose from the cabin where the hunter still searched. The taller twin turned back. "It will follow." "Always follow?" Jack looked around. The forest stretched in every direction. "Where's your ship?" The smaller one pointed east. "Beyond hill, broken. We crash there." "Then that's where we go," Jack said, grabbing his axe again. They started running through the trees. Snow crunched under his boots. The twins moved fast despite their small legs glowing like tiny blue lanterns. Behind them, the sound came again. Boom. Then another. The hunter was moving. The forest lit up red for a second as its eye-beam scanned between trees. The beam sliced through branches like hot wire. Jack's heart pounded, but his instincts kept him moving. He'd been in storms, he'd faced wolves, he'd fought nature itself, but this was something from another world. They reached the top of a frozen hill. From there, Jack saw it, a crater glowing faintly blue. In the middle lay a broken metallic pod half buried in snow. "That your ship?" Jack asked. The twins nodded. "Yes, inside we have power cell." "We need it to hide," Jack nodded. "Then let's grab it fast." They slid down the hill and reached the wreck. The pod was cracked open, smoke frozen on its edges. Inside were strange shapes. Wires, panels, and glowing stones. The taller twin climbed in and started pulling at a small crystal-like cube. It flickered weakly. "Power low," they said. Jack looked around nervously. The forest had gone silent again. No birds, no wind, just quiet. Too quiet, then, crunch, the ground behind him shook. Trees bent and snapped. The red light returned, cutting through fog and snow. The hunter had found them. Jack shouted, "Hurry up!" The twins screamed as the hunter stepped into the crater. Its red eye focused directly on them. It raised one sharp arm and fired a beam of energy that cut a burning line through the snow, missing Jack by inches. The blast threw him back. He coughed, grabbed his axe, and swung it at the hunter's leg. The metal barely dented. Sparks flew. The machine turned toward him, scanning. Human detected interference. Jack spat blood. You bet your metal ass I'm interfering. The smaller twin shouted. Jack, we have it! They held the glowing cube high. The light pulsed stronger now, brighter. The hunter paused for a moment as if analyzing the signal. Jack shouted, Then run! He grabbed the twins, tucking them under his jacket, and sprinted toward the thick trees. Behind him, the hunter roared in a metallic voice. Targets escaping. Red beams swept through the forest, cutting down trees like paper. Snow and wood exploded everywhere. Jack dodged falling branches, his lungs burning. They reached a narrow ravine where a frozen stream ran below. Jack jumped down, landing hard on the ice. He slid a few feet, then hid behind a fallen log. The twins gasped, shaking. We can't stop it forever. Jack looked up through the trees, his eyes fierce. We'll find a way. I didn't come this far to watch you die. Above them, the red glow moved slowly across the treetops. Searching, scanning, hunting. Jack tightened his grip on the axe and whispered, If that thing wants a fight, it just found one. The night felt endless. Cold wind rushed through the trees, carrying the echo of metal footsteps. Snowflakes drifted down slowly, soft, peaceful, but beneath that silence, danger was close. Jack crouched behind a fallen log, the two tiny alien twins hidden inside his thick coat. Their soft blue glow pulsed like heartbeats under the fabric. He could hear their breathing, quick, scared, desperate. The red light from the hunter's eye swept across the forest again, searching. The sound of its metal limbs breaking branches echoed through the night. Jack's muscles ached, but he didn't move. He knew one wrong sound could get them all killed. After a long moment, the noise faded, the heavy steps growing fainter. The machine was moving away. The taller twin whispered softly, It gone? Jack shook his head. No, just searching. It'll come back. He looked around. They couldn't keep running in open ground. He needed somewhere to hide, somewhere deep. Then he remembered. An old logging cave carved into the side of the hill when miners worked here years ago. It was small, damp, and forgotten, but it might just save them. Follow me, he said. He moved quickly but quietly, pushing through the snow-covered ferns. The twins followed close, their light flickering nervously. Every crunch of snow felt too loud. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. When they reached the cave, Jack brushed the snow off the entrance. It was dark inside, like the mouth of some sleeping animal. Stay close, he said, and stepped in first. The air was cold and wet. The smell of earth filled his nose. The deeper they went, the narrower it got, until they found a small hollow at the end, wide enough for Jack to sit and catch his breath. The twins' light made the stone walls shimmer faintly. The smaller one sat on a rock, shaking. We run for many days, but it always finds. Jack looked at them carefully. That thing, the hunter, why is it chasing you? The taller twin hesitated, then spoke softly. We escaped from bad place, from sky people. They make war machines. Hunter is one. We were test. Jack frowned. You mean prisoners? They both nodded slowly. Jack exhaled, running his rough hand through his beard. So that's it. You ran, and now that thing wants to drag you back. The smaller one looked down. If it catch us, we die. For a moment, the cave went silent. The sound of dripping water echoed faintly from somewhere deep inside. Then Jack smiled faintly, trying to calm them. Well, it ain't catching you while I'm here. The taller twin tilted their head. Why help us? You not know us. Jack looked at the two tiny faces glowing in the dark. You asked for help. That's enough for me. The twins blinked as if confused by the simplicity of his answer. Before Jack could say more, a strange humming filled the air. Low, mechanical, vibrating through the stone. The twins' eyes went wide. It found us, whispered the smaller one. Jack turned toward the cave entrance. A red light flickered outside, then fainted first, then brighter. The air temperature rose. Snow melted off the rocks and hissed into steam. Jack stood, gripping his axe. Stay behind me. A beam of red energy cut through the cave's opening like a knife, turning the edges to glowing rock. Then a metal hand reached in. tearing through stone like paper. The twins screamed. Jack swung his axe, hitting the hand. Sparks exploded. The machine didn't even flinch. The hunter forced its way in, stooping low, its eye glowing brighter now. Targets located. Its voice was deep, robotic, and cruel. Jack's heart thundered. He swung again, this time at the creature's head. But the axe bounced off the armor. The impact knocked Jack backward, his hands bleeding from the vibration. The twins huddled in the corner, crying out in their strange language. The machine raised its arm, a blade unfolded. Glowing red hot, Jack grabbed a fallen chain from the mining wall, swung it and wrapped it around the machine's leg. He pulled with all his strength. The hunter stumbled slightly, giving him just 1 second. "Now!" shouted Jack. The taller twin lifted a glowing orb from their belt, a small crystal filled with blue light. It pulsed, then exploded into a flash. A blinding blue light filled the cave. The hunter staggered, its red eye flickering. For the first time, it made a sound that almost resembled pain. Jack grabbed both twins and ran deeper into the cave. The tunnel narrowed, rocks cutting at his arms. Behind him, the hunter roared, smashing walls as it followed. Dust and sparks filled the air. Jack's lungs burned. The twins were light but fragile in his arms. He didn't stop running until he saw daylight ahead, a small opening leading out to the other side of the hill. He jumped through the gap, rolling onto the snow outside. The cold hit him hard, but he didn't care. Behind them, the cave began to collapse. Rocks fell, burying the entrance just as the hunter's red light reached the edge. Then, silence. Jack lay there, gasping. The twins crawled out from his jacket, trembling but alive. The taller one touched his cheek gently. "You save us," Jack gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, for now." The smaller twin held up the glowing orb. Its light was dimming fast. "This can't last. We must fix ship, or Hunter return stronger." Jack looked toward the forest where faint smoke still rose from the crater of their crashed ship. He clenched his fists. "Then we fix it. Together." The twins looked at each other, surprised, maybe even hopeful. Far behind them, under the pile of rock, a faint red light flickered once. Then twice. The hunter was not gone. It was rebooting, and the real fight had only just begun. Snowflakes floated down like white sparks from the dark sky. The forest was silent again, but not peaceful. The kind of silence that hides danger just out of sight. Jack walked fast through the frozen woods, his axe strapped to his back. The two alien twins sat in his coat pocket, glowing faintly, their blue light reflecting off the snow. Their breaths came out in tiny clouds like small ghosts. Behind them, smoke rose from the collapsed cave. The hunter was buried, for now. But Jack knew machines like that didn't die easy. "We don't have much time," he said, his voice low but steady. The taller twin looked up. "Hunter, repair fast. It always repair." Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we fix your ship before it wakes up." They followed the narrow path through the trees until they reached the edge of a frozen river. Across the water stood Jack's old workshop, a wooden building full of saws, drills, and half-finished machines. The place had once been his pride, before the loneliness swallowed him. Now it might be the only hope left. Jack pushed open the creaky door. Inside, the smell of oil and old wood filled the air. His tools hung neatly on the wall, covered in frost. "All right," he said, pulling up a stool. "Show me what we're working with." The taller twin jumped onto the table, holding out a small metallic cube, the energy core from their ship. It pulsed faintly, weak and cold. "This heart of our vessel," said the twin softly. "It give power, and hide us from Hunter, but energy low. Must charge again." Jack leaned closer. The cube looked alive, like it was breathing. He could see tiny patterns moving across its surface like veins of light. "What kind of power does it need?" he asked. The smaller twin pointed at the wall, at Jack's generator, a heavy metal machine he used to power his tools. "That human energy strong. Can use it." Jack smiled faintly. "Well, lucky for you, I've got plenty of that." He hooked up the cube with a few wires using clamps and an old car battery. The workshop filled with a soft humming sound. The cube began to glow brighter, its blue light pulsing faster. The twins watched silently, their big eyes wide with hope. Jack looked at them, half grinning. "So what happens when it's fully charged?" The taller twin replied, "It can make shield. Hide from hunter eyes, maybe. Even fight." "Fight, huh?" Jack said. "Now you're speaking my language." The twins smiled. a rare moment of calm. But it didn't last long. The lights flickered. The generator began to shake. The cube glowed too bright, too fast. Jack frowned. That's not good. The smaller twin shouted, "Stop!" Too much. Jack pulled the wires free. Sparks flew across the table. The lights went out. For a moment, the only glow came from the cube itself, now pulsing softly again. The taller twin sighed with relief. Almost lose it. Jack rubbed his hands. All right. We charge it slow next time, step by step. He glanced outside through the workshop window. The snowstorm was growing stronger. The forest swayed in the wind. But behind that beauty, he could sense it, the danger creeping closer. The smaller twin climbed onto his shoulder. You are brave. Most humans run. Jack gave a small chuckle. Maybe I should have. But once you help someone, you don't stop halfway. The twins exchanged a look. On our world, the taller one said softly, no one help. Only survive. Jack's voice was calm but warm. Then maybe it's time someone did. For a few quiet minutes, they worked together, Jack repairing circuits with his rough hands, the twins using their tiny tools of light to adjust the cube's internal energy lines. A strange bond formed between them, one built not by words, but by trust. Then, the window glass vibrated. Jack froze. The twins went completely still. A low hum filled the air, deep and mechanical. The light outside flickered red for a second. Jack's heart sank. It's back, the taller twin whispered. Impossible. It's still broken. Jack grabbed his axe and stood. Guess it didn't like being buried. He turned off the generator, dimmed the lights, and signaled the twins to hide inside a toolbox. Outside, snow blew across the trees. Red light moved between the shadows. The sound of metal steps echoed through the forest again, slow and steady like death itself walking. The workshop walls shook as the hunter's voice filled the air. Energy signal detected, human presence confirmed. Jack took a deep breath. All right, big guy. Round 2. He pulled a lever beside the door, a homemade trap he once built for bears. The floor wires snapped tight, and logs hidden in the roof dropped like thunder. The front wall collapsed, burying the entrance in heavy timber. The crash made the whole ground shake. Dust and smoke filled the air. For a moment, silence. Then, clang. The logs began to move. The hunter was still alive. The twins peeked from the toolbox, trembling. Jack, it break through. Jack wiped sweat from his forehead and smiled. A wild, fearless grin. Good, I was hoping it would. He turned to the glowing cube on the table. You said this thing can fight, right? The taller twin nodded. If connect with hard energy. Hard energy? Jack raised an eyebrow. You mean mine? The twin looked at him seriously. Human life strong. Braveheart can charge it faster. Jack's eyes burned with determination. Then let's give it something worth fighting for. Outside, the red light pierced through the smoke. The hunter rose from the pile of logs, its armor cracked, one arm sparking. It looked straight at the workshop. Jack stood tall, the axe in one hand, the glowing cube in the other. The wind howled through the broken roof as the machine's voice roared. Elimination sequence begin. Jack smirked. Come get me, you metal freak. The forest was no longer quiet. It groaned, screamed, and burned with red light as the hunter tore through the snow. Inside the workshop, Jack Miller stood firm. His hands were cut, his clothes burned, but his eyes, cold blue human eyes, showed no fear. The glowing cube pulsed on the table beside him, casting blue light across his face. The twins peeked from behind a pile of tools, trembling. Jack, it's stronger now. It adapt, Jack smiled faintly. So can I. The walls shook. Outside, trees snapped like matchsticks. The hunter's red beam sliced through the night, searching, calculating. Then came the voice again, mechanical and cruel. Human, surrender the twins. You will not survive. Jack lifted his axe. Maybe not, but I'll make sure you don't either. He turned to the twins. When I say run, you head for the woods. Take the cube. Don't look back. The smaller twin's eyes glistened. What about you? Jack smirked. I'll keep it busy. Before they could reply, the front wall exploded inward. The hunter stepped through the smoke, huge, glowing red, half covered in burn marks and snow. Its arms ended in spinning blades, and its single red eye burned like fire. Jack shielded his face from the blast. Wood splinters rained down. The hunter scanned the room. "Target acquired," Jack charged first. His boots slammed the floor, his axe raised high. He swung, the blade hit metal, throwing sparks. The force pushed the hunter back a step. It retaliated instantly, its blade arm slicing through the air. Jack ducked just in time. The strike cut through the ceiling beam instead. He rolled aside and grabbed a fuel can from under the bench. He threw it at the machine and swung the axe again. Clang! The can burst open, covering the hunter's legs in oil. Then Jack grabbed a flare from his coat pocket, lit it, and shouted, "Let's see how you like fire." He tossed the flare. The oil ignited instantly. Flames raced up the machine's body, crackling bright orange against the snow. The twins gasped as the workshop filled with heat and light. For the first time, the hunter screamed. A horrible metallic roar. It swung wildly, smashing tools and tables. But Jack didn't stop. He grabbed a chain from the ceiling, wrapped it around the creature's arm, and pulled with all his strength. "Come on," he shouted, veins standing out in his neck. "You want to fight? You got one." The chain snapped tight. The hunter stumbled, one knee slamming into the ground. Its eye flickered. Jack ran to the control lever, the one connected to his logging pit outside. He yanked it down, beneath the burning workshop. Wooden floorboards gave way, revealing a deep pit lined with broken saw blades and old machinery. The hunter tried to regain balance, but its leg slipped. Jack slammed into it with his shoulder, pushing with everything he had. The hunter fell into the pit. A deafening crash shook the ground. Sparks and flames flew upward. Jack fell back, gasping, his arms shaking. His coat was torn and his cheek was bleeding. But he was alive. The twins ran to him. "You did it!" Jack shook his head. "No, not yet." He looked down into the pit. The flames burned bright, but deep within them something moved. Metal shifted, then a red light glowed again. The hunter was climbing out. The smaller twin cried, "It cannot stop." "It repaired too fast." Jack picked up the glowing cube from the table. It was pulsing faster now, stronger, reacting to his energy, to his will to fight. He looked at the twins. "If this thing needs my heart's energy to work, then let's give it everything I've got." The taller twin's eyes widened. "You could die." Jack's voice was steady. "If I don't, we all die." He pressed the cube against his chest. A surge of blue light spread through him, crawling up his arms like lightning. The twins gasped. The cube had connected to him. For a moment, Jack's eyes glowed blue, his axe pulsing with energy. The light mixed with his heartbeat, strong, human, unstoppable. He turned toward the pit just as the hunter climbed free, flames dripping off its armor. Jack raised his axe, now glowing bright blue, and shouted, "Come on, monster! Let's end this." The hunter roared and charged. Its red beam met Jack's blue light. Fire and snow exploded around them. Metal hit metal. Sparks lit up the night like fireworks. The twins watched from behind the wreckage, tears in their glowing eyes. Jack fought with the fury of a storm, swinging, dodging, striking again and again. Each blow carried something no machine could understand. Human heart. The hunter stumbled. Its chest cracked open, leaking red sparks. Jack drove his axe deep into the wound and shouted, "This is for Earth!" The machine screamed as its power core burst. The explosion threw Jack backward through the snow. The world went white. When the light faded, smoke rose from the crater where the hunter once stood. Its red eye flickered, then went dark. Jack lay on the ground, barely breathing. His hands were burned, his axe broken beside him. The twins ran to him, crying softly. "You win," said the taller twin. "Hunter gone," Jack smiled weakly. "Good. I was getting tired of him." The smaller twin touched the cube, still glowing faintly in his chest. "You give it life. You give it power." Jack's eyes softened. "Just doing what humans do best. What is that?" The taller one asked quietly. Jack smiled. "We fight for someone else." The wind blew across the snowy field, carrying smoke and ash into the night sky. Far away, hidden among the stars, a faint signal blinked to life, a red one. More hunters had received the call, and they were coming. The night after the battle was heavy with silence. Smoke curled through the frozen air. The forest, once calm and green, now looked like a battlefield. Trees burned quietly. Snow melted into dark mud. Jack lay near the ruined workshop, half buried under broken wood and ash. His breath came slow, each one sounding like a struggle. His hands were burned, his coat torn, and blood traced lines across his face. Beside him, the two alien twins kneeled, their small glowing hands pressed against his chest. Their blue light shimmered faintly in the dark, trying to heal him, but they were weak. "Please, stay alive," whispered the smaller twin, their voice trembling. Jack opened one eye, smirking faintly. "You didn't run." The taller twin's eyes filled with tears of light. "We not leave, friend." Jack tried to sit up, groaning. "You're braver than most humans I know." They helped him to his feet. The glowing cube still pulsed weakly against his chest, fused with his heartbeat. Half human, half alien now. It flickered in rhythm with his breath. Then through the smoke a low hum rolled across the forest. The twins froze. Jack frowned. "What now?" The taller twin's voice cracked. "Signal, more hunters." Coming from sky. Jack looked toward the stars while his stomach dropped. 3 red lights were falling from the clouds like meteors. Each one burned bright, cutting through the storm. He clenched his fists. "You've got to be kidding me," the smaller twin whispered. "They come for us all." "Hunters send message before death." Jack stared at the glowing cube in his chest. "Can this thing stop them?" The taller twin hesitated. "Yes, but need full energy. Human life energy." Jack's voice grew quiet. "You mean mine?" The taller twin nodded slowly, their voice small. "If connect to heart fully, explosion strong enough to destroy them, but you, not survive." For a long moment no one spoke. Only the wind howled through the broken trees. Jack looked around, at the forest he had lived in all his life, at the smoke rising over his old cabin, at the 2 tiny beings who had fallen from the stars and asked for help. Then he smiled softly. "I guess a lumberjack dying to save a couple of kids isn't such a bad story." The smaller twins shook their head violently. "No, there must be another way." Jack knelt down so their eyes met. His voice was calm, gentle. "Hey, where I come from, we don't let the bad guys win, especially not when someone's counting on us." The taller twin looked at him with trembling lips. "You human, strange. You fight even when unsure." Jack laughed weakly. "Yeah, that's kind of our thing." He stood wincing from pain and looked toward the open field where the first hunter had died. Above it the sky burned red, the new machines entering the atmosphere. The ground trembled with their arrival. Jack turned to the twins. "I need you two to back away when I say." No arguing. The smaller one began to cry. "We can't lose you." Jack put a rough, warm hand on their heads. "You won't, not really." The taller twin tilted their head. "What you mean?" He smiled. "Because if I do this right, part of me's going to stay with you, in that cube. In your light." The twins stared at him, their small eyes filled with sorrow and awe. Above them, the sky exploded with thunder. 3 huge metal hunters descended, their red eyes glowing like angry suns. Jack took a deep breath. The cube on his chest began to glow brighter, responding to his determination. It hummed, syncing with his pulse. He turned toward the approaching machines and muttered under his breath, "All right, let's make this count." The twins stepped back, holding each other tightly. "Goodbye, Jack Miller." Jack raised his axe one last time. "Goodbye, my friends." He closed his eyes and let go. The cube flared bright blue, bursting with light. Streams of energy spread from his chest, wrapping around his body like fire made of stars. The snow lifted from the ground, floating around him in a glowing storm. The hunters aimed their weapons. Too late. A massive explosion of blue energy erupted from the field, spreading like a wave across the forest. The light swallowed everything. The machines, the fire, even the darkness itself. For a moment, the entire sky turned white. Then, silence. When the light faded, only smoke and ash remained. The hunters were gone, melted into nothing. The snow began to fall again, gently covering the blackened ground. The twins stood in the quiet, their blue glow soft and sad. The taller one whispered, "He gone." The smaller twin shook their head. "No, look." In the middle of the crater among the ashes, the glowing cube floated slowly. Whole again, brighter than before. They approached it carefully. Inside the cube, they could see a faint image, the shape of a man holding an axe, smiling. "Jack," whispered the taller twin. The cube pulsed once, as if answering. Tears of light rolled down their small faces. They lifted the cube together, holding it to their hearts. the taller one said softly. He give part of soul to save us. Now we live forever in light. The wind blew gently through the trees, and for a brief moment the twins swore they heard a voice carried by the breeze. Keep fighting, little ones. They looked up at the sky. The stars shimmered brighter than ever. Jack Miller, the human lumberjack, was gone from the earth. But his spirit burned on across the galaxy, inside the tiny hearts of two alien twins, and somewhere deep in the stars, a new legend was born. The man who fought the machines. Years passed. The snow melted, the trees grew tall again, and time washed over the forest like a river erasing footprints. But some stories never fade. They live in whispers, in wind, in light. High above Earth among the stars, a small silver ship drifted quietly. Inside it, two alien beings, no longer children, worked at the controls. Their faces were older, wiser, yet still glowing softly with the same blue light that once saved their lives. They were the twins, Lyra and Neo, the last of their kind. And today, after years of wandering the galaxy, they were coming home. The ship hummed as it entered Earth's atmosphere, glowing blue against the clouds. The planet below looked peaceful. Green forests, silver rivers, white snow on faraway peaks. Lyra's voice was calm but filled with emotion. Do you think it's still there? Neo smiled faintly. The place? Or the man? Lyra looked out the window, her hands pressed to the glass. Both. They landed in a quiet clearing in the same forest where it all began. The trees had grown over the scars of battle. The snow was clean again, untouched. Birds sang softly. The ship's ramp opened with a hiss and the twins stepped out, their boots crunching on the frost. For a moment, neither spoke. The air was cold but familiar, the same air they once breathed beside a human who changed their lives. Neo whispered, "It feels alive again." They followed a narrow path through the trees until they reached it, the place where the workshop once stood. Now only a circle of stone and moss remained, but in the center stood something new. A wooden carving, old and weathered, shaped like a man holding an axe. On its chest, carved deeply, were the words, "Protect all who are small." Lyra reached out and touched the wood. Her fingers trembled. He remembered. Neo knelt beside the carving, brushing snow off the base. The humans must have built this. They remembered him too. Lyra smiled faintly. No, I think he built it himself. Before he left. They stood in silence, feeling the cold wind brush against their faces. The forest around them seemed to breathe, each tree whispering softly. Then from the folds of Lyra's coat, a faint blue glow appeared. The cube. The same one that once held Jack's heart energy. It floated from her hands, hovering above the carving. The cube pulsed once. Then again. The ground shook gently, not in fear but in life. The snow lifted in tiny flurries, swirling around them like glowing dust. Lyra gasped. It's waking. The cube projected a faint light into the air, and within that light a figure appeared. A tall man, rough beard, kind eyes, and a warm grin. The image was made of energy, transparent yet strong. Jack Miller. The twins froze, their eyes wide, hearts racing. He looked at them, smiling gently. You came back. Lyra stepped forward, her voice shaking. Jack, you're alive? His voice was calm, echoing like wind through trees. Not alive, but not gone either. You could say, the forest and I made a deal. Neo's eyes filled with tears of light. We thought you died. Jack's ghost chuckled. Guess I'm too stubborn for that. He looked around at the trees, at the snow, at the clear sky. This world, it's good again. You helped make it that way. Lyra's voice was small. We only survived because of you. Jack nodded slowly. And I only mattered because you believed I could. The forest seemed to shimmer as he spoke. Light filtered through the branches, brighter and warmer. Jack's form flickered, the glow dimming slightly. Listen, there's something you should know. The cube, it's not just power. It's memory. It carries what matters most. Courage, kindness, heart. He smiled again. Keep it safe. One day someone else might need it. Lyra clutched the cube to her chest. We will, we promise, Jack nodded. Good, then my job's done. His form began to fade into light. The wind grew gentle, wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Neo stepped forward, voice breaking. Will we ever see you again? Jack's fading figure looked back one last time. You already do. Every time you help someone smaller than you, I'm right there. And then he was gone, his light merging with the sky, scattering like dust among the stars. The forest fell quiet again. But it was not an empty silence. It was full of life, of memory, of love. Lyra wiped her tears, looking up. He's part of the world now. Neo nodded. No, he is the world now. They turned to leave, walking back toward their ship. The cube floated beside them, glowing softly, like a heartbeat. As they reached the clearing, the wind carried a deep voice through the trees, soft and proud. Keep fighting. Little ones. Lyra smiled through her tears. We will, Jack, always. The twins entered their ship. The engines hummed, glowing the same gentle blue as the cube. As it lifted off, the carving below shimmered faintly in the moonlight. And for just a second, it seemed to move. The wooden man's eyes glowed blue. The ship soared into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind it, a promise written across the stars. And in the forest below, the wind whispered one name again and again, carried through every branch, every leaf, every shadow. Jack Miller. The guardian of the woods, the man who proved that one human heart could shine brighter than any machine. The end.